welcome to Permaculture Cairns monthly meeting. My name's Craig Phillipson and I'm the president of Permaculture Cairns. And today we're doing something special. We're not in my house anymore. We're actually at Carol's place, and I do have Carol here with me. So here we both are, sitting. Say hi, Carol.
Hi.
And Carol has been kind enough to present her nursery for us this week. She is growing food for Johnson's grocery store at Stocklands, and this all came from not doing permaculture expo day. And she had to get rid of the plants and talk to them, and now she's got a little business happening. So she's going to show us through her nursery how she makes it all happen. And this is stuff that everyone can take into their backyard, into how they're going to set up their own nursery. So look forward to that shortly. First of all, we'll just get through some announcements. So let's go to that. Okay, so as I said, the agenda today is to talk about nursery after we talk about upcoming events, and then we will be having a bit of a group chat. So because we've got Carol here to answer your questions, please do ask them. Get onto the chat site. If you're on Facebook, go to the Facebook, the Permaculture Cairns Facebook page, not the group, and that way you'll be able to participate in the group chats by leaving comments there, and I'll be able to see those comments and read them out and respond to them. And if you have any questions, Carol can answer them. And we're also on YouTube as well, so you can go to the YouTube Permaculture Cairns channel, and we're live chatting there as well, and there you can also leave comments, and I will see them all and be able to respond to them. So do please participate, because your participation makes it all worthwhile. Because it's Carol and I both here, we're sharing the microphone today, so it's sitting between us, so it's up very loud, sitting between us. So hopefully you'll be able to hear us both properly. Do comment on whether it sounds good or it sounds bad, because we do like to know that you are there and that you are listening to it all right, or if we do need to change something so that you can hear it better. So the more comments we have, the better we can do here. All right, moving on to our announcements. We've got the Manura Community Garden is doing how to keep bees workshop on the 1st of August. That will be $15 per person. You can find more details on the Manura Community Garden Facebook page. I can see we've got a couple of people saying hello already, so thanks for giving us a shout out, guys. Hi Linda, hi Bruce, good to have you guys along. It's always great to have your company. So yes, Manura Community Garden, this is basically their first event after lockdown, and it is about keeping bees, which is a fantastic thing to learn to do. In Carol's backyard here, I've actually got 3 native beehives right next to me, and the lovely little things that they don't cause a bother at all. They've all gone to bed now anyway. But yeah, they're harmless, but they do still collect honey. Anyway, moving on, I just want to talk about our web page. If you do want to become a member, then you can get onto our web page and sign up and follow the links to pay your $20. do think about that. It does help us do these events. This live streaming, we do have to pay a little bit of money each month to make it happen, so we do appreciate the membership to help support us in doing these live streams. And we love the positive feedback, and we know we're getting a lot of appreciation from people from the Tablelands all the way down to Innisfail. So thank you all for participating. And while you're at the website, do check out, from last month, we've got the recipe for Janet's turmeric, and we hope to have Yuzhong's pesto up there shortly. I just haven't had time to do that yet, so we'll be getting that there as well. So keep checking out the website.
Newsletter.
And the newsletter is also on there, Carol is just saying. Yeah, check out the latest newsletter as well. Now, I've got to talk about future monthly meetings. We are still in restrictions. I checked the restrictions today, and it's still no inside gatherings outside a residence. So it's all right to have 100 people in your home, but we can't have a group gathering in a hall at this stage, according to the latest Queensland restrictions. And because our meetings were at the Endeavour Foundation, which does have a vulnerable clientele, I'm happy to keep away from there and do our part while we're still on restrictions, so that we're not causing a problem for anyone else. So we're going to be keeping the meetings online while I have the energy to do it, and at the moment it's going very well. We're coming up with new and fresh stuff to give you every month, but if you have any suggestions on things you want to know about, do give a comment as well, and we can try to incorporate that as well. So while we can't do indoor meetings, we're going to be doing an outdoor gathering. We're going to be doing that on the 1st of August. It's going to be a non-formal event from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So in the morning at the Botanical Gardens for brunch. Bring a picnic, bring a barbecue, bring your smiles, bring your picnic rug. But we do discourage sharing at this stage, and I know that's counterintuitive, because this is the Permaculture Club, and one of the ethics of permaculture is to share the excess, and that's still important, but not now. We've got to do our part for the community and not share things, and keep isolated to stop the spreading of COVID. Even though it's not in Cairns at the moment, out of respect to the rest of the world, where it is a big problem, we still have to respect that social distancing, because it doesn't take much, as we know in Victoria and now New South Wales. It only takes one spark of coming into proximity to someone, and then everyone in the community can come down with it. So we do have to pay our respects for it, and so we do discourage sharing for that purpose. But we do want to see you. We want to see your smiles, and we want to say hello. So 1st of August, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It will be the first time that we've gotten together since March. So it will be great if you can come and say hi. Okay, that is the end of the announcements for now. And I do want to just bring back to Carol here with me. So welcome, Carol. And,
good night.
Thank you very much for your participation and showing us around your garden. As you can see, it's night outside now, so we're not going to walk around the garden now. Here's some videos that we did earlier, and I must apologise for these videos. The sound is not the best. It's a bit echoey in places. We had 2 microphones to really try to capture sound properly, but both had their own faults. One was too wind affected, one kept cutting in and out, so I've blended them together to try to get you the best sound quality, but there is still a bit of echo there, so apologies for that. But the information is really good for how you can set up your home nursery. So let me just bring that up here. We're going to start with the seeding area. And so this is Carol, and this is Carol's nursery.
This sort of started in response to the expo being closed. So I had a lot of plants started and I thought, well, what am I going to do with them? And it was raining really heavily. So my son made this cover out of a trampoline. He cut it in half and put it back together so that it was only a half. And it was great for doing the seedlings. Put clear plastic over it to stop the rain, and if it was we could shade cloth over it. But now I don't need anything, so it's still a good spot to go seedlings because it's mostly in the shade, but there's good light. The light is really important. You don't need direct sunlight on your plants. A lot of plants don't like it. All these greens here, most of them will take a bit of shade, especially here in the north when we get that fierce sun in summer. This setup is not quite ideal. I only use fold-up tables. Really, they should be on a mesh so that the pots drain straight through, and the water seems to hold underneath these trays and on the top of the table. And some plants just don't like wet feet. So sometimes I have to actually put another tray underneath these so that they drain better. But yeah, there wasn't any time to actually go out and look for anything to start this off. So this area is used for raising seeds, doing cuttings, and some plants after they've been potted up, they like a bit of shade. So that's why these are in here. There's lettuce and coriander, some tomatoes. I do raise plants for myself, but I always put in too many, and so I've always had some seedlings here and there. These plants are spicy basil, and they've been in this shaded area for a while now, and I don't know if you can see it, but I can see that they're soft and the leaves quite large. They go out with full sun, so they will be shifted today. So from here, if there's something that like thyme or something that likes the sun, they go on that table over there, and they get full sun. After the sun comes right behind the trees here, that's all afternoon. And then on the other, in that area up there, I do propagating there as well. There's another 2 tables in that. And then on the fence line over there, that's the growing out area where there is sun most of the day. So I only have a small yard, but it's used nearly every inch of it. And then there's the herb gardens that, I use those to propagate from. I can take cuttings from them or bust the pot up and, grow garlic chives, or take the seeds off and grow them. There's some garlic chives here, seeds. This is not the perfect spot for raising seeds. Really, you should put them in full sun right from the very beginning. Because if they don't get enough sun early in the piece, they get long and lanky and they're pretty hopeless after that. So I know down south and in lots of gardening books they say, put it under shade and all that sort of bother to begin with. And then you have to harden them up. Well, why not just grow them in the sun? Because that's what they really like to do. In here they're not getting full sun, but when they germinate here, they get pinched out and they get put into the big propagating tray. It's made of polystyrene, and it's got plugs in it of peat moss and a hole in the bottom so that you can just poke it out. And then that goes in the sun. And then when they're big enough, though, from that I plant it straight out or into a pot to grow on in the sun. And that's why these are really ready to plant out. Perfect. They're not going to be set back. It's going to chew them off base. This is really good for raising seed cuttings. I add a little bit of worm castings, and that adds a bit of biology to it, and plants seem to appreciate it very much. And in all the pots I just use Searles Premium Potting Mix, which is really good for everything. It's not organic. It's got the synthetic fertiliser in it. But what it does, it gives the plant everything it needs for the first few months. They say it lasts 7 months, but it doesn't here. We have nice warm weather, and it disappears within about 3 months. So it gives the plants a good start, and then when you plant out, you use your organics.
So you're really into composting. Why don't you use compost to propagate in?
I don't never get enough compost. I've got about 7, 8 raised beds and 2 bathtubs and lots of other gardens, so all that compost goes on the garden. I've got bananas and pawpaws and pineapples, and it's because our weather, we get a lot of rain, it washes a lot of the goodness out. So the best way to do it is to put compost on every year, and that holds the nutrients. Whereas, if you use fertiliser, it just disappears, gets washed out. This was sort of started in...
Okay, yeah, that was the seedling area. Carol's just turning it off. We were just watching it on another computer because we can't hear the sound on this one. And that's the first time that Carol's watched it as well. So if you have any questions for Carol, please do ask. Just put it in the comments, and I will read them out to her. But I do want to ask a question, Carol, about, can you explain to me more? In that video you talked about having basically the soil with the seeds in it in the direct sunlight, but then you talked about having the seedlings in the shade. Am I getting that right impression, that when they're germinating, it helps that they're in the sun, but once they're germinated, especially in the Cairns summer hot sun, you do need to give them a bit of protection. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, a lot of seeds actually need sunlight to germinate, and if they don't get that, it doesn't have to be much, but it has to be there, otherwise the seeds don't germinate. And I prefer to use full sun if I can, but I'm restricted here, so I'm doing it in there where it gets good light, and then quite often they're disturbed, either pricked out or in a pot where there's a multi-planting. You're disturbing the roots when you transplant it, and that's when they need a bit of shade to get over that transplant shock. Then you can put them, it only takes a day or two, and they're quite good to go back in full sun.
Yeah, and we're going to be showing a bit more about the different areas of your yard where you do have basically a sunning out or growing out area. It's not planting out, because these are designed to be sold, so they are still in pots, but you do give them a bit of time to be in full sun to just grow, basically.
Yes, well, most of these are outdoor plants that need the full sun to grow. there's eggplant and capsicum and lettuce and all of those, plus taros and cocoyam and albicea and all that. They need the sun, especially in this time of the year when the sun's not that hot anyway. And there's been a lot of cloud and a lot of rain. You really need that sun to actually will dry the pot out now and again. Otherwise, the roots are always wet, and they don't like that.
Sure.
So yes, they really need good drainage as well.
Yes, which is why you talked about having the mesh table instead of a solid table, so
yes,
they could really drain, which is really good advice. Leonie's asked a question that's really close to what you're passionate about. Is about tropical plants, and she would like to know what new tropical plants that you're trialling and making a go of.
Tropical vegetable plants.
Indeed, yes.
Yes, I've tried the Kini trombioni, or rombionicini, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But
well, it looks like a zucchini and it looks like a trombone as well. So a trombone zucchini is what it is. And if you go onto our website, go to our newsletter and look at the latest newsletter, the July newsletter. It came out yesterday, and you will see a picture of Yuzhong holding the zucchini trombona with the biggest smile on her face. She was very happy to hold that big zucchini. So check that out on our newsletter on our website. What else have you been growing that's
I've found that watercress grows here all year round if you've got a bit of shade and plenty of water. I started them off in wicking beds, but now I've actually transferred to a garden bed, and it's growing beautifully. So the others was radicchio. This year I've tried the old woman gossiping Ethiopian cabbage.
That's a mouthful.
Yes, and it's about 1 metre high with big leaves, and so I've just cut the tipping point out so that the growing point, so that it expands a bit, puts out more branches, and that's quite nice. It really is. There were a few other. The Hong Kong. What was it? Hong Kong. Broccolini. Broccoli. Hong Kong broccoli. I didn't know anything about it. The friend gave me the seeds, and they're a short plant with a very thick stem on it, and I see that they're flowering, so I probably need to go and eat the whole plant.
Are we likely to see any of these ones appear in Johnson's in any time soon?
No, they didn't want seedlings, but what I've been doing lately is for the herbs. I've been putting a number of like coriander plants in the same pot, and they're buying them instead of buying 2 packs of the herbs in bundles.
Ah, yes.
Because they last longer in the pot.
Absolutely. If you're going to do herbs, and you saw Carol's herbs in that little video just then, just growing abundantly. If you can grow herbs in a pot, you've got them forever, and it's a fantastic way to do it. Wonderful thing about it is they're always fresh, and they're always growing back. So yes, people are at Johnson's now buying Carol's pots of herbs instead of buying the bunches, because they know they're going to last longer, and when you only need a little bit for that week, then it's much more economical.
Especially if you're on your own. You can have a pot of parsley. These are the things I've tried: parsley, capsicum, mint, tropical, the Mexican tarragon, celery, and coriander. And a lot of people say they can't grow coriander, so it's a big plus for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people wish they could grow coriander.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, Linda has just told me that she's just started up her veggie garden, and she's having a problem with cutworms. Linda, if you're just new to gardening, I suggest you go back to our April meeting and have a look at where I show you what I grow in my garden, because I have no green thumb, and I show you all the plants that grow without any effort. So do check that out. But cutworms, what do you know about cutworms?
I use diatomaceous earth. It's a silica, and it gets into cracks and joints of things you don't want, and they dehydrate.
So what's it called?
Diatomaceous earth, and it's spelt exactly how it sounds.
Diatomaceous earth.
Yeah, diatomaceous earth.
I'll actually write that in our comments here. D-I-A
Tom. Acious.
Acious.
A-C-I-O-U-S.
Earth. For cutworms.
Yeah, or cockchafer or any of those things, you know. I usually put it in when I'm planting doing the transplant into the soil. I put that in as well.
Okay.
And quite often you get beetles. If you're putting compost in from your compost bin, quite often there's beetles in it, and it works brilliantly on beetles.
Okay.
But there's numerous things for that. Condy's crystals, I've heard, and even just a physical thing with a soft drink bottle, cut the top and bottom off and put it over your plant.
Okay. There's a few
things to try. Yeah.
So a soft drink bottle, cut the bottom off, put it over your plant, just protect it.
Yeah.
Okay. Just while it's a seedling, just till it's established. Okay. Well, fantastic. All right. Well, that was the first part of Carol's garden. That was the seedling area, the seed raising area. So now I want to show you the potting up area. So here it is. Here's Carol's potting up area in her shed.
The potting up area. It's a nice shady spot. Lots of air, especially for the tropics. As I said, the potting mix comes from New Leaf, and it's Searle's professional potting mix, which is absolutely brilliant. They've spent a lot of time on getting it right, and it's great. The other thing, you need to read the directions on it, because you should wear gloves, because a lot of the bags when they come have got mould on them. Sometimes it's yellow, sometimes white. They're not so bad, but you shouldn't breathe any mould in. Make sure that it's moist, so it's not floating in the air. Put some gloves on. And I keep these by. When you get them off, they're practically trashed anyway, so get a box. It's important to have the right height. I've been struggling along with this fold-up table for many years, but since I've been doing a lot more potting up, I complained to my son, and he happened to have this tabletop lying around, so we topped that up, and now it's just the perfect height. And to tell that is when you put your hands down flat, it's perfect for you. So it's good for washing up too. So don't let anybody tell you a shorter one works. It doesn't. It hurts your back. I keep pots here and pots over there, different sizes for transferring plants from baby ones to bigger ones to the actual eventual, the one where you sell the plot. From here, pots either go into the shade area. There's two areas. There's this one just nearby, and this one here, and then the trees go out there. There's lots of moringa in that area, and then the smaller pots go on the other side in the full sun. So it sort of you go from here to there, but it works. When the plants are ready to go out for sale, they have to put a tag on them, and I really resent having plastic, but it's the very best thing because people use wood and it goes mouldy and so you can't see what was written on it. So there's a few different ones. These all come from New Leaf, different coloured ones which I like to use for the flower, the decorative ones. And I keep the seeds I need to plant. And this is a list of the plants that I've got ready to go to the supermarket tomorrow.
And we're back again. Yeah, the seedling area, as well as talking about properly labelling your plants and keeping a journal of what you planted, when you planted. And this helps you to know what worked last time and what works again, especially what's the best time of year to plant something as well, as remembering what you're growing. So having a good labelling box is a really good idea. How long did it take you to get your labelling box together where you know what's happening in there?
Well, you can't do it if you haven't got one, so it didn't take that long. You need to be able to tell what the plant is, because a lot of these plants people have never seen before, but they really do want to grow food. And so you put on the name like Okinawa spinach, it's edible for salads, stir-fry, steamed. Ground cover grows to so high and will grow best in the shade and likes it moist.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot to put on a little tag. But
it is, and that's the great thing about getting plants from a professional nursery with those nice labels on them, which tell you everything about them, which really aren't that good because they don't really talk too much about growing in the tropics. So
that's the thing.
There's a problem, and that's why we do this for Permaculture Cairns. That we talk about growing in the wet tropics, and so while you can get a lot of stuff, a lot of information on the internet, when it comes to growing in Cairns, this is the place to come. And Leslie Bell has asked about your moringa. She wants to know how big it does grow.
30 to 40 foot if it's in good soil, because I have one. I had two and I had to cut them down.
Yeah, 30 to 40 foot, so between 10 and 15 metres.
Yes, yes. They're quite fast growing, but I found that I actually couldn't keep up with them and still do everything else. The best was to cut it off about 1 metre, and then when it shoots, you use those shoots. But I never got around to it, and when I come back to it, it had, 3 metre sticks going up in the air, and so I chopped them out. But the funny thing about them is I actually had a fellow who came and dug the roots out, and then about 3 years later I was digging the garden and I came across these roots that were still there, and they were still alive.
Wow.
But they hadn't shot. So it's really a peculiar plant.
That is amazing. And I suspect there's a bit of a fungal network keeping those roots alive. They've got no leaves and
yes, it has to be a fungal.
Something in the ground is keeping them alive.
Yep.
Good old fungi.
And it happened on both trees, the ones that I chopped out. Now I grow in a pot.
Yeah, but growing it in the ground like that, as say 10 metres high, but if you keep it chopped, you can keep it manageable, but you do have to be onto it.
Yes, you would have to. Actually, I've seen photos in Asia where they chop them every fortnight.
Wow.
And they chop it to take to the market straight away. Right. So you'd probably have to dry them. I mean, This one I have in a pot, it's probably about 3 metres high now, which needs cutting back. Yeah.
Wow, so it really produces. That's
Yes.
why people rave about it.
Well, it's a pretty magical thing. It's promoted its cancer cure and all sorts of things. So
yeah, the wonder plant.
Yep.
If you do have any other questions on potting up or anything to do with nursery, please just put them in the comments, and I'll read them out to Carol. Sandy goes on to ask, how big is your pot that you're growing the moringa in?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's quite big. Yes.
Yeah.
What?
Got to get both your arms around it, just.
In centimetres, something.
At
at least 60 centimetres. Yep, in diameter.
It's a decent sized pot, Sandy. There you go. The decent sized pot. And Leslie has also commented on that yes, better in a big pot so that it can be kept under control. Now, with the potting up area, what I noticed yours lacking is you don't have a sink. You don't have any running water. How do you wash up that area?
I have a rubbish bin that I fill up with water, and it has a lid. So when I've potted up things, I either use the hose or I use a watering can to water up things that I've just done. It was too expensive to put the water down the back.
Yeah.
Or they just didn't want to.
and a bin is a fantastic way to go, and I showed in the May edition, in the May online meeting, I showed different way things rot, and I showed making a weed tea in a bin, and so I use a bin as well for making a weed tea, and take out the weeds and fill the rest up with water, and then dip your watering can in it to water your plants. So you could do the same thing with what you've just washed up, because they're still going, you're washing nutrients into that water. So
No, I only use it to water plants. I don't wash pots. I buy pots. I don't have enough time, and there's no pots around. Didn't you notice? There's no second-hand pots anywhere.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, isn't it interesting how this lockdown has changed all the rules? Everyone wants to start growing their own food, and all the plants have disappeared off the shelves. Something I never thought would happen, but something I'm quite amazed about.
No, I've had to buy quite a lot of pots in too. And it's just easier for me. I don't want another job of cleaning pots and sterilising. So the water is just to water plants.
Yeah.
And sometimes I put some seaweed in it too, because when you're transplanting, you have a bit of seaweed in the water. Helps them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That helps get through the transplant.
So they say.
Well, you've had enough experience that I'll believe you if you say that it works. Deep in rural China, that's their username, has commented saying that they don't have any success with moringa because they come up and then get eaten. They don't say whether they eat them or another animal eats them though, but they get eaten. And they're asking if anyone has some cuttings of moringa that they could like. So deep in rural China, ask that question to the group on our Permaculture Facebook group. There will be someone out there who has some cuttings.
How would you send them to China?
Well, that's only their username.
No.
That doesn't mean they're in China. So if you are in Cairns, post on the Cairns Facebook group, which is our community of anyone can join and participate and share information on growing food and permaculture in Cairns.
I think there was someone on Marketplace was advertising cuttings for $2.
Oh, there you go. Moringa cuttings on Marketplace for $2. So there's another hint for you there. Well, we'll just wrap up the video with showing Carol's sunning or growing out area. So this is just where the plants go once all the work is done, and for their final maturity in their pots before they go to market.
Most plants take about 3 months right from beginning to being sold. Some are fast, some like lettuce and, the seedlings, you don't grow them all. But these are probably going on 6 weeks, 2 months. So you sort of spend a month somewhere else, and then it comes in here in the last 2 months. These are the pots that are ready to go out. What I do is I put the tag on, and I clean the pot so there's no mud on it. And I water it the night before and let it drain, and then I put it in the car so it doesn't get rain on it. And because when you put it on the stand, you don't want water and gunk coming off. So these will go in the car tonight. They'll be fine overnight, and I deliver them 7:30, 8 tomorrow. So they'll be fresh. From seeds.
Okay, there you go. That's Carol's nursery, and the sunning out area is where the plants go and enjoy the rest of their life in the pot until they go to market, and then someone takes them home and puts them in a bigger pot, or puts them on the kitchen shelf, or plants them. Whatever happens to them after market, but that's how Carol goes through the process of getting her plants to market. And I must say, this is something that anyone can do. And I'm told before I moved into my house that the previous owner out the back had a little nursery, and they basically had most of their income coming from selling plants out the front of the house. And I see a few places around town that do grow and sell plants outside their house. I know there's one place in Jensen Street and one place in Greenslope Street. This is around the area that I live, so I pass these ones, and it's a fantastic thing to do, because if you're growing the plants anyway, like Carol showed you with her herbs there, that all she does is she chops off her herbs and grows them cuttings in pots, and away she goes again and sells them. So it can be done relatively cheaply, and especially if you've got kids wanting to be entrepreneurs, this is a fantastic opportunity, as well as selling fruit out the front. My little guy sometimes sells our bananas out the front, and usually for free, but people, he does it on a pay what you will kind of situation, which makes it that people end up paying more than they would in the shop. So it's a little con trick, I think.
Yes.
But these are fantastic ways that we can use our plants in our gardens to be a little bit more entrepreneurial, and so thank you very much, Carol, for
Yep, you're welcome.
presenting your garden. Deep in rural China has talked more about their moringa, saying that they live in Innisfail and it's animals eating their moringa. So what do you think would stop the animals?
You might have to put a fence around it individually. Are they eating it from the ground or from the top? Are they giraffes or?
I don't know how many giraffes there are in Innisfail, but yes, I, as the plant gets bigger and bigger, you need a bigger fence.
Okay, or grow something else for them to eat.
Yes. If you've got pests, do find out what your pests like to eat. Learn to live with them by growing other things that so you can all share is a great tip as well. Of course, you need room for it, but this is what you've got to do. You've got to figure out what works in your area. So there's always more than one solution. And yes, everyone's saying thank you for showing that your garden, Carol. But I do have one more thing that I want to put to you. I've got some questions. We've got someone sent us some questions. Jenny sent us some questions throughout the month. She's got a lime tree, and she wants to know. Let me tell you her question. The lime tree, it has been planted at least 15 years ago and never fruits. And I think it's in the wrong spot. Is it possible to transplant it somewhere else? If so, how do I do it? And there's the photo there. She's got it on a slope, on above a retaining wall, so really well drained there, and you can see that any runoff will just run down the slope, so it's not going to soak any nutrients down into it. So
the competition as well?
Well, it is against a fence as well.
Other trees?
It's not too,
I
can't see in the photo if there's any other trees too close by.
Yes. Well, it's probably a good idea to move it if it hasn't fruited in 15 years. So it's a good time now because they do, well, it's probably the best time for the tropics because they don't grow as much, although mine are still growing not quite nicely. Summer's not a good time to do them.
Well, they'd already be stressed in summer, so to transplant them would put them under even more stress.
I'd water it well. They aren't deep-rooted. And I'd dig around the drip line about a week before you move it and dig it down to about half a metre, and that will break the roots around the outside, and then you can lever it up and shift it.
So you dig around the drip line, basically around the leaf line.
Yeah, or even just a bit inside that. Yeah,
but you do it a week before you actually pull it out.
That allows the roots to heal, and then maybe put some baby roots back into that that circle. Yeah. They'll probably only go half a metre down, maybe just a little bit more. And that's probably why it hasn't fruited, because there's not much nutrient there. And as I say, the water runs off. So
where is a better place to plant it?
In the sun.
Direct sunlight, full sunlight.
Definitely.
And I would also presume on a level surface, so that you're not getting so much drainage.
Yeah, or terrace it so that it's on a level ground.
Yeah. All right, thank you very much for that, and thank you, Jenny, for that question. And she has one other, so there is another another picture here. Let me find that one. Now this is her Rosella, and what she asked about her Rosella. She's saying, do they survive over winter, and do they fruit next year, or do I need to grow new from seed or for next year? So I thought Rosellas just grew. I did not think they were a problem.
Yeah, they are classed as an annual, but here in the tropics, because it doesn't get cold enough to actually slow them up, so usually they'll last a couple of years. But the idea is to pick your crop and then cut it back, and it'll grow again. Cut it back by a third, maybe a bit more.
Yeah.
And when the weather warms up, it'll take off again. I'd say you can get 2 years out of them in the tropics.
2 years. I wish I knew they'll put one out the front of my place. Now I know in a couple of years I'll be replacing that, and it won't be my fault that it died.
That's right.
That's good to know.
Yep.
So thank you, Jenny, for those questions. We do appreciate it. If you do want to ask questions throughout the month on general gardening, then please do so. We will try our best to answer them for you. And for the next meeting. The next meeting will be on the 18th of August. I don't know what I'll be talking about then. I did promise at this meeting that I would be showing you sauerkraut and coconut oil. Funny story there. The sauerkraut, the actual lid popped off and it got a lot of mold on it, so that one didn't really work. Back to the drawing board. I'll be doing that again this month, and hopefully I'll be showing you that next month. And the coconut oil, my final process for making coconut oil is to actually put it, to sift it through a coffee filter. I don't know what it is, whether coffee filter paper has gone out of fashion because people do their coffee another way. I don't drink coffee, so I have no idea. Or is all the coffee filter paper being used to make masks, which is also a possibility because I've seen a YouTube video on someone doing that, but I can't find it in the supermarket. So I'm going to have to think of another way to filter my coconut oil, and I'll hope to show you that next month. So please tune in. Please leave comments. Please ask questions. Love to hear from you. And thank you very much for viewing. And I'll say goodbye to Carol, and thank you very much for welcoming me into your yard and showing me your nursery.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Night.